as we jump into game number 4 here at the Dragon Cup.
Love to see a comfortable Ramblinnn, and hopefully comfortable for the rest of the players like Rainplosion here. Not quite comfortable with that last game. Hopefully going to turn it around here, starting with a belt on the opening carousel. Generally, it's going to be like things like bow, swords, tears, rods, belt, defensive start. Not too bad, but see what Rain makes of it. Also a potential just lagoon opener, right? Be able to get something like a Nidalee with a bow, or like, you know, a Malphite with a belt. Certainly not going to be too bad.
Yeah. I like Malphite belt, and it for the reason you stated with Lagoon, of course, but also I'm a dirty Sunfire slammer. I actually really like slamming Sunfire and looking to try and win streak in the early game. That's kind of my comfort zone, so whenever I see that belt start, I like grabbing it on a Malphite because then I have the option of Lagoon. But yeah, I love slamming a Sunfire cape or a Warmox in the early game.
That's fair. The Mirage is going to be Warlord's Honor, so stacking buffs as you win combats. This is a Mirage that does work well with Deja, so could be seeing more Deja games like we did in Lobby G in the last game. Rain does have a Yone to start, pair of Malphites, pair of Nasus, a couple of Astrals as well, so a few different directions that this could go. Got dropped another belt, like you were talking about. Warmog Slam could come through. Oh, it has an Nidalee too, actually. I didn't see that. So actually already on 3 Astrals. Wonderful opener. Just standard stuff.
Yeah, you know, you've got the Astrals. Mogs is an option. I mean, it doesn't... It obviously gives you a very strong front line, but it doesn't actually help you kill anything. So if you don't have a good backline unit, then the Warmog Slam isn't generally that helpful. It's a lot nicer when you are running of course the Lagoons, and it buys time that you're getting more casts even if you're not winning the rounds. So with just the Astrals with no carry, a little bit interesting. But Shimmer scale options, so weapons. What are you thinking here, Kron?
I'm actually thinking reroll here. Rain is not really in the spot for any of these augments. I don't think you really even take scope weapons unless it's the prismatic version where you get infinite attack speed. This one just isn't quite as good. I'm thinking it's a reroll. Yeah,
I can see a reroll. I mean, we didn't hit an Olaf, so scale score and not super exciting. Shimmer scale, we had Nasus, but we sold those, didn't we? So yeah,
scoped weapons,
which it's a strong enough augment, but I wouldn't have been shocked to see the reroll. I know it's a little scary to reroll your first augment though, because then you can wind up in situations where you're getting 3 options that are dead with your composition later on in the game, and you have no options there.
Well, Cass, if you take a look at tactics.tools, Scoped Weapons has a 4.99 place. I mean, that's pretty bad. Not very good.
That's pretty bad. That's pretty rough.
Mortdog hates me right now, I'm sure. Just looking at tactics.tools to pick your augments. There's validity in it, but also shouldn't always do that. In fact,
okay, I think it's fine when it's your first augment and you're playing flexible. If you look at it, it's like, okay, this augment is that bad? Okay, well, maybe it's not the play to do it as your first augment. But yeah, I have confidence that Rain is going to find some use for this scoped weapons. It is an augment I like more like Olaf, though.
So I know I kind of already mentioned this, but Rain showing the willingness last game to play a line that she hasn't played before with the Xiao, Beast End Jades. Rain might be again going for a line that she's not super comfortable with. Like, going scope weapons 1 cannot be a thing that many TFT players are very practiced on right now, especially with how long she took to make that decision. If it was comfortable, you'd be like, oh, scope weapons, great, I can make this work, right? Snap pick it up because you don't want to go the shimmer skill, don't want to go the skill scoring, but that's not what happened there. So I'm really curious to see what Rain does with this augment, because it's not like it's going to be like an AP thing. I mean, I can, but you're probably just going to play something AD focused with it, right? Like, you don't want to waste a gold augment. You can be okay with wasting a silver augment, right? But a gold one, not so much.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a tougher spot. So we'll see later what Rain ends up going with that. Here we have Ramblinn's board. I want to check in here because we got the trade sector and not leveling up, just staying on this Skarner, this early Astrals, but also winning. Looks like we'll lose this one to that Rengar in the last second.
Wow.
But was winning earlier, sells up to 10.
Yep.
But trade sector gonna have a lot of that reroll power early on, and the board's gonna get leveled up pretty quickly.
Yep. Buys the shop, rerolls. It's a Sejuani. Not too bad, still able to be playing these 3 Astrals, and now 3 Mages with the Talia going in. Trade sector, obviously not very committal. a player holding Sejuani or like Twitch, you always want to be thinking about, oh, they might just be going Xayah, because you can go, you know, guild Sejuani could be fitting into that end game level 8, level 9 board sometimes. Not like the super cap version, but it's still like a pretty good variant. As we see a Sejuani 2 on the other side there, and that's already a Rage Blade Slam from the XnienaTor over there.
Yeah, and better together, so that Protector's Vow is in there for Nunu as well. Yeah. So that's the Mirage with Nunu and the Leona in very strong board, I think, to start out. Even just slamming the Rage Blade to just give even more power, because you have such a strong front line. The attack speed's going to stack insanely high.
Yeah, and they're winning as well, which means they get the Mirage value from Warlords. Just that Nunu and Leona having just a little bit more stats is something that you can't really understate the value of. Really utilizing every single thing there. Having better together early is like a huge high roll. It seems like a lot of players really value that. Gives free Protector's Vow, which is an absolutely insane item, and it allows you to, you know, get more value out of things like lockets or Zeeks or chalices later on, which you're not going to be aggressively going for, but even just the Protector's Vow value is by far good enough.
It's crazy, because it is like, if the augment red just give you a Protector's Vow, there are a lot of augments you would probably pick that over. Just because of how good the item is. So you're just getting an additional benefit of making not only your Protector's Vow better immediately, but you do get better aura items in the late game as well. So it is such a strong augment, especially as you stated in that early game. And we saw 2 people take it, right? Xiao Dan as well, picking it up.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah, taking a look at this board. Oh, having the Dark Flight online early a little bit, getting the Twitch in there for the guild, the attack speed still will go, even if the Twitch gets sacrificed. Yep. This is a really, really good opener. Is going to put the Protector's Vow on it, as well as the items will go over to the Rel and to the Aphelios. Level 5, 10 gold. Really, really good opener. Yeah. 2 Dark Flight players in the early game.
It's one of the best in slot augments for this Darkflight composition, because you can spread out all these aura items that are now getting that 33% bonus. I mean, this is a great start to playing Darkflight.
Looks like might be the Cannoneer version of it. If you're going the Rengar version, Rage Blade is not super good on it. Generally, players will want to go things like IE Runans, or like IE Hodge, just some kind of IE +1 for the Rengar. But the Cannoneer version is still really good, especially, again, like you mentioned, with that better together. Really curious to see if we can, you know, get some Darkflight boards that pop off, maybe able to secure some first, because I think the potential is still very much there, even after all the nerfs that those units got a patch ago.
Well, you've been talking about it a lot recently, right? We were watching Pot of Bull, one of the European players, playing a ton of this, just like not quite 2020ing Darkflight, but playing a ton of Darkflight.
Pretty close to it,
forcing it almost every game, and having success not only with the Darkflight Essence version, but also playing aura items. And so I think we came into this tournament expecting to see it maybe a little bit more and see some success from it, and it's really been pretty non-existent over the course of the Dragon Cup so far.
Yeah, there's been a couple of games, you know, taking a look at the week 1 Dragon Cup stats, but really not too many. This is one of the spots, however, where it can shine. That is what separates a good from a great TFT player, is being able to know what unorthodox lines of play can work out in what situations. And I think the XnienaTor is recognizing one right now. Looking solid, even though they can't quite carry the streak, because Rainplosion did end up slamming the Warmogs and is really strong.
Insane, by the way.
This scoped weapons, you know, in of itself isn't really getting that much value right now, but still Rain is setting herself up for it to give a lot of value a bit later on with full streaking until Crow. So love to see that. Yeah, it's real nice right now.
All right, so jumping on Milala as Jeweled Lotus as the augment, and got a couple Lagoons in 38 of 50 right now, so stacking up pretty nicely on the Lagoons in stage 2.
Solid. They're all tier 2. Very nice. Even having a Zac 2 is very early for that one to be online. Even having the Guardian buff in there with Braum as well. Items though is gonna be the big thing. A tier.
Well, a tier is a big pickup for this line.
You can just like pivot all the way out of Lagoons. You don't have to commit even if you run early Lagoons. It's one of the worst, you know, econ options. You would want to run Astrals or like, you know, Shimmer Scales or Pirate Mirage over Lagoons, but they're still decent. But you do have the Jeweled Lotus augment, so probably wanting to stick with Lagoons in the AP tree, however.
Yeah, Jewel Lotus. I mean, you have some swords. One of them can turn into an IE, which is nice to combo up there.
Yep.
This tier, ideally you'd want to get towards a blue buff, or potentially it can just be a Shojin, depending on what this next augment is. Like if you get a blue battery here, then Shojin just becomes really, really nice.
True. Oh, BT slam. Oh, interesting. I was thinking, you know, along the line of what you were saying, one of the swords can be an IE, and then that's half of a blue buff, but then you get this giant slayer slam. But
yeah
no, a BT is solid, I guess.
BT on Zac, interesting for sure. It seems like definitely wants to be on the bruiser line, which is the more common version of Lagoons, right? We're gonna keep that Malphite in, play a Silas, and then get rid of the Zac. But this also could just be a full pivot out of Lagoons with the BT slam.
Has the potential for it. With the Jewel Lotus, I think you would generally only be thinking of that if you are going to go things like Deja, or just a capped dragon board running like, you know, Aushin, or Aurelion Soul, even something like that. Ramblinnn actually played last game a Soul for a little bit until pivoting to Deja, but we got our second augment coming through.
I mean, Uplink's great if you're going AP.
Yeah, fantastic. Wonder why it's not just a snap pickup of Uplink here.
It's not even Uplink.
Oh,
like, and this is what I was kind of alluding to with the BT slam. It feels like we're not wanting to play in the AP space, but as you mentioned with the Jewel Lotus, that is, I mean, that seems strange. It seems odd. So we'll check in with Milala later over Blakespace, and we got another Darklight board.
Blue buff being, I think it's the first time I've seen blue buff being sacrificed to the Darklight.
Me too.
But they're all gonna get blue buffs. Cass, you get a blue buff.
That's a lot of mana. That's a lot of mana that you're giving to your team right out the gates.
Yep.
Watch these Rengars just pop off on your... Well, never mind. Rain is level 7 with this board.
Oh, this is combat training too. So every time these Rengars are securing last hits, they're going to be so much more powerful for the rest of the game. I don't think I've actually seen a combat training Rengar Darkflight board, or at least not that often. It can get really strong though. It can scale.
The kitties are pouncing for sure with all the blue buff, all that extra mana, but Rain is so strong. Like, I can't get over this board. Every time we look at that, it's like, what stage is it? Stage 4? No, okay, 3-2. Oh, all right.
Yeah, I say it could scale, and then I think it only kills like one unit, if that. I don't even know if the Rengar got the last hit there, so maybe never mind on that one. In theory, they scale though, at least, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a funny fight to watch though, because the blue buff on the Rengar is just making them like instantly jump around. They're just jumping all over the place, but they don't have enough damage right now. Just the solo IE on a Rengar 1. Combat training, I guess you would think there might be enough AD, because but I don't know how long the Rengars have been in, if they've been stacking up that much.
Yeah, I know they've been in since, I believe, or at least one of them has been in since stage 2. Not exactly sure how long in stage 2 though. One of the Rengars is Zephyred, but going up against Xnicamo.
Okay, they just need one auto attack and they can jump in the back line anyway. It's the power of blue buff Rengar, you know?
There you go.
Something we think so little about is blue buff Rengar.
That's +1 AD. Let's
Huge.
go.
Absolutely
and
correct.
Then get jaxed. Never mind. Yeah, not the most powerful of boards right now, that's for sure.
No, certainly not.
But soon, Copium.
That is some copium, because we're not making 50 gold here. We're level 6.
Yeah.
It's a little tough for Blakespace, because this comp is also contested, and they don't really have like any important pieces. They don't have like a good thing to sacrifice, as much as the blue buff is hilarious. Probably not the best item to be dark lighting.
No, certainly not. I want a Zeke's eventually, if not, you know, Darkflight Essence, which where you referenced earlier, Pot of Bull. Pot of Bull used a lot of Darkflight Essence to go top 4 a lot of games in a row. Not quite 20 out of 20, but close to it. The option for a Rengar 2 was there with the tier. Could have gone Hodge with that, but Runans is, I think, the pretty universally accepted best in slot secondary weapon for the Rengar. Already has a belt, so hopefully can pick up a sword
Rengar 2
on
that's big.
the next neutrals. But yeah, hits the Rengar 2 and 2 more Rengars actually.
Whoa.
Okay, here we go. We're online, not Copium anymore, Cass. This is the real deal.
Yeah, actually, can you explain the double Rengar here for like players who have maybe not played a lot of Darklight or seen a ton of Darklight, because it's kind of fallen out of favor.
I love this actually. The
Yeah,
Runans
this is
being
good.
sacrificed so that both Rengars get the value out of it. So Rengar is just gonna be the primary carry here, and you only need 2 items because the Rengar is always gonna get the 3rd sacrifice item, which might be a Zeke's a bit later. So you don't need that many items to actually get this online. The Rengar is gonna be benefiting from assassin buff a little bit later on, and they can just jump around and kill pretty much everything. Like having both Rengar 2s online at 3-5 is going to, I think, allow Blakespace to turn this full loss streak into a full win streak, almost like Phoenix-esque, as you know, a lot of that we casted earlier, going that consistency route, going like, you know, 10 loss or something into like, you know, 7-8 wins or something. But Blakespace, even though they're not the consistency augment, going to go pretty much in the same vein there.
Yeah, and that was great too, to slam that Runans into the spot for the Darkflight, because they already had an extra Sejuani sitting around, so they can just replace it later. You only need the Sejuani 1. There's not really much point in making a Sejuani 2 because it's just disappearing anyway. So just keeping extras so you can swap out the items is always really solid tech to do when you are playing Darkflight, especially in the early game when you're thinking you'll be pivoting that item later.
Yeah. And I guess to elaborate a little bit more on the Dark Flights before we move over to analyzing Kevchen's board here is you don't really need to run that many units besides Dark Flights, right? Because you get the item on all Dark Flights. Oftentimes, you know, before when players were running Cannoneers, you would play like 2 Aphelioses on your board, but now with the Rengar version, you just play 2 Rengars. They're your carry. They benefit from these extra items. That's why it's, you know, one of the reasons why it's so powerful. But anyways, move over to Kevchen. Some Swift Shots, some Shimmer Skills.
Yeah.
Looking like a Xayah game a bit down the line, but especially with Ascension, that's such a great augment for it.
Yeah, and we're win streaking here. Kevchen's win streaking with the Varus. Now, of course, yes, losing this one, but was on a 4 win streak with just that Varus 1 having good items. Very strong unit. If it was a Varus 2, I think Kevchen could have held that win streak into stage 4. But, you know, having that Varus as an item carrier, very, very powerful at this stage of the game.
Xnicamo, another player running Shimmer Scales. That's 4 Shimmer Skills. Wonder what the 5th item is.
Yeah, because it's Mogul Mail for the start.
Yeah, not bad. Positioning in the back as well to see if it can stack up during this neutral round. Can it actually? I don't...
There's no world, right?
No, it dies before that happens, unfortunately. Good attempt, though.
Yeah, it's a cool try. I haven't really seen people try that out.
Yeah, it was a bit tankier. Let's just sell it off. Okay, what direction do we go here?
Yeah. Towards Lagoon, so Neela grabbed.
Evoker is the Nomsy here. Gets the Silas too. Gonna be a great addition to the front line. Having that Thieves Gloves roll into a Zizira, it's really good as well. Looks like it's just gonna be the standard Seraphine Graves composition. Zeke's is really good for it. You just throw Zeke's onto a Zeri in the backline, and she's able to buff out, you know, the Zyra and the Graves. No Graves yet, it looks like. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, Graves would be the big pickup in addition to this. Can have the Neela as a secondary carry or use it as an item carrier for the Graves beforehand, just because it's powerful enough of a unit.
Yeah.
But it looks like this is Milala has swapped over to a Zyra. I know we were curious where that direction was going to be with the Jeweled Lotus. That is a unit that will still benefit from the crits, so that will work out.
Not too well right now, unfortunately, as Milala still takes another loss and is looking like they're on 0 gold. So don't like to see that. Holding the Graves actually away from Xnicamo. So get Shell, Purple Forge, or High Tide. High Tide works pretty well with this composition cast. We were kind of talking about this earlier, but it's great for Seraphine to get a couple of casts out because her mana pool is so high.
Yeah, that's the big thing, because earlier when I asked you about this, it was like, okay, well, why is High Tide so good? I think about all the Lagoon units, and they're like, mana pools are so low. They're going to cast 2 times really quickly regardless, no matter what. But really, the unit that you're looking at when playing High Tide is that Seraphine, which, interestingly, Xnicamo not going that direction. It's going to be just going Cybernetic Shell for more tankiness.
I think it makes sense here. There's a lot of players looking like they're going to run, you know, things like Xayah this game, so some AD routes, and you don't, which I think is the biggest point, don't have Seraphine items. Literally 0 Seraphine items, no tears, no rods. It's really just going to be a lot of power going into the Graves as soon as Xnicamo finds it, because there's 3 bows that are chilling out right now, 1 cloak, so probably going to be a Runans plus just kind of whatever. And oftentimes, if the Seraphine doesn't have items in this build, and there's no Seraphine 3, it does fall off a decent amount. You really kind of need that Seraphine items to reach your kind of capped board state there and contest a top 2 at least, if not a first.
Yeah, so Xnicamo gonna have to hope for a very nice Dragon Horde, but also needing to make sure they get there safely with already losing a lot of HP down to 54, and their board kind of feeling rather weak at this moment. That's a BV rel right there for Blakespace.
Oh my, actually tied.
Wow.
I don't see that too often, especially at 4 too. Wow. Hit the Pantheon too. 2 more Pantheons in the shop even. This is another Graves composition without a Graves. Level 7, 0 gold. 3 Protector's Vows and better together.
I mean, honestly, this just looked like the other one. Like, we got over here and I was like, wait, is this the same board? Oh no, it's not. It's a little different here. No Seraphine items. But so many aura items. Well, if you wanted to play around an augment, here we go, Crowd.
Actually, yeah. 4 out of the 5 items get value from that better together. But Xiao 10 has enough HP right now, Taurus. I don't think they needed to roll all the way down at level 7. They could have just been rolling to like 30 gold even per turn, maybe even 50 gold. Just keep that Aphelios. I guess it's kind of unlucky. You'd expect to at least hit 1 Graves, right? Actually get your comp online, but I don't know, Cass. It's looking like Xiao 10's kind of doomed.
Yeah. I mean,
sure, they might be winning these fights, but that's because Rainplosion has been sitting 100 HP, is sitting on 50 gold, is not really rolling down to improve the composition that much right now. So that's kind of a lucky matchup.
Yep, she's level 8, 50 gold. Really, really crazy spot. I mean, we saw how well her early game went. And then the augments she's picked up since then, I think, have been really solid. Getting second wind into better together for herself. And really, Xiao Dan just being carried by, honestly, better together. And the fact that those shields are so big, there's so much HP.
Yeah, how many? There's 3 better together players in this game.
Yep, just 3.
It speaks to the power of that augment. Very, very solid. Blakespace? Ooh, okay, Blakespace got a spat, so if they don't have like a Zeeks or something yet, they could go into that Darkflight Essence, actually. Yeah. As we were talking about earlier, and kind of use that for their Darkflight item.
Might be good because they were using a Runeans,
yeah.
Which they're going to want that to be onto a Rengar. They want it to be an actual Rengar item.
Yes.
And they want to have something that's actually going to help their other dark flights. So the essence would be really, really strong. Basically getting that old Dark Star increase for the rest of the team.
Basically, Ramblin's an interesting spot. Is going reroll Astrals with 5 Astrals. Has the tier 3 Skarner, tier 3 Vlad. Is 3 Varus away. The Varus reroll part can actually be really solid though.
Yeah, just in a bit of a transitional period, though. Very weak at this moment. Potential to become very strong pretty soon, but 30 gold, level 7. Gonna really need these Astral hits and just hope that... I don't know which tier he's out of Astral right now. I kind of missed. I'm sure it's at least the 7 Astrals tier that he's gonna be pulling from, so it should be a lot of money, a lot of things.
Yeah. I think it was like somewhere in like the low teens, maybe. Yeah, it's gonna be Mirage. Just any emblem.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter the thing. It gives that Darkflight Essence, which wow, there's a Rel 3 online now as well. The Swain is in there for the 6 Darkflight. This is fantastic. Good stuff here. And the Rengars again have been scaling this whole entire time with the training there, combat training, and hopefully able to find a couple more either Rengar or Swain items here on this Treasure Dragon round, which surely they'll get to. There's no way they take 16 damage this turn.
Yeah, this is actually a really interesting spot for Big Friend as well, right? Because you've hit this Rel 3.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
gonna Big Friend all of your Rengars, who are now going to get a lot of HP because not only the 6 Darkflight, but also the Darkflight Essence giving more HP. I mean, that's just a very creative way to play this.
Yeah, I'm
wondering if it's enough for Blake to actually, win a couple rounds here, make top 4, at least get like a 5th or a 6th, because they're very low HP. And even with all that, look how close this fight is.
Yeah, unfortunately the better Rengar that had all of the items did fall, but it's okay because Swain lives forever and the other Rengar still does enough damage with all the Dark Flight, because when each Dark Flight unit dies with the essence, it passes the stats over to all the others. So really just needs a good Treasure Dragon round to again outfit either the Swain or the other Rengar. Be in a good spot. Ramblinnn, 2 Varuses away from Varus 3. Does pick up the, I think, first option presented here. Chalice, Runaan's. Another glove can pop off the Varus for TG. That was a solid pull there, I think.
Yeah. Grabs the target dummy, a little extra front line, buy some more time for your Varus. 2 Varus away, and it is 14 star level, so that's the tier that Ramblinn's in. So was able to get an entire Hodge off of one of those orbs.
Hodge, Runaan's Deathblade. This is a really, really good Varus build. The only concern here is the positioning, maybe. Don't want to get Zyra'd when all your units are in the back line, but also you want to get Chalice value, so it's a little awkward. Yeah, it's actually already positioning around it. It says, oh, wait a minute. There's Zyra, probably the next matchup pool. Oh, Rainplosion goes fast 9, is playing just a bunch of tier 1 dragons.
Yeah, it looks like she just made this pivot too, so just starting to get the items back in. We'll see if she ends up losing this round, but after this one, I think we could start to see her pick up some wins. Once everything's in order, she's got time to position properly for the next fights, and she might even still pick this one up. This was a hard fight, though, with that Xayah, with the Infinity Force, Infinity Edge, and Ginsu's Rage Blade. That's very, very strong build.
Extremely strong. The stats on Xayah comps that run Xayah-itis are significantly worse than the comps that feature an endgame Shyvana on their board, however. So while that comp is strong right now, it might fall off as we approach the end of stage 5. Gotta keep our eyes on that one. But also got to keep our eyes on what improvements can Rain make to the board here. There's a pair of Shyvanas, pair of Yasuos. But really, there's not that much gold to hit everything that Rainplosion wants to, but
Three Yasuos in the shop.
Triple Yasuo shop. Pretty good. Where are the items for it, though? There's no items.
Yeah. And we have to, remind ourselves here that Rain, she was 100 HP win streaking for a very long time. And now she's dropped all the way down to 37 HP, going fast 9. And honestly, I would consider maybe some of this roll down a bit of a miss. The fact that she did hit that Yasuo too is huge, but as you said, no items. And so these fights are a lot closer than you would hope when you're trying to pivot into this, 3 dragon, maybe eventually 4 dragon setup at level 9 here. Like, you would really hope that when you did this roll down, you would start winning, and we might see 2 fights in a row that Rain loses. Especially, here's this cast, Aurelion Soul. It's not quite enough. He would need one more cast. I think he gets it, but does he die in time? Yeah, he does. Rain loses again. Needs to find these upgrades.
That's a round that Rain really wanted to win. If you're rolling down at level 9 like that, you want to stabilize within 2 rounds, and that was the second round there. And not losing by that much, I suppose.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, okay, that's a big hit. Shyvana 2, that would have been the difference in the last fight. And again, I feel like I have to call back to the scoped weapons pickup. There's just not that much scoped weapons value. I mean, I guess you get a little bit of the attack speed, but the range is not useless, but certainly not that great. Still a Terra 1, Jace 1, Aurelion Soul 1. Definitely not the board that Rainplosion wanted to see after level 9 roll down. Oh, Infinity Forest in that Rengar. Not gonna get the essence, but that's fine. That's still a lot of damage on this Rengar.
Yeah, I'm curious if it would have been better to put one of the items on the second Rengar to try and keep that essence going, but either way, this is a very stacked Rengar. It's gonna be doing a ton of damage. Looks like it all got caught up inside the Aurelion Soul, though, and that's just the big damage. Rain needed this win, and Blake really needed to not lose this one, because this is gonna be Blake going down in 7th place in this lobby. I'm pretty sure that Swain does not win these, even though he does live forever. He is going to go down to that shot eventually, and Rain going to start to turn things around, buy some more time for her to get these upgrades at this level 9.
Yeah, unfortunate for Blake. Would have loved to see that composition have a bit more success, but yeah, we were hyped for it. It wasn't in the cards that game for Blake. Unfortunately, it is a hard comp to pull off. It looked like that might have been the situation to be able to do so, but unfortunately, does take the 7th. At least dodges 8th, as Milala took that kind of a while ago.
So
Kevchen, however, really ahead of the lobby.
Interesting thing here, Karan, that I want to ask about. Rain grabbed the Warmogs when she has better together, and there were 2 aura items on the carousel. There was a Protector's Vow and there was a Zeke's. Did you recognize what the Warmogs might have like wanted to go on? Is that just trying to keep Yasuo alive to the end of the fight, or?
I would assume that she had frontline Terra.
Oh yeah,
it was only
yeah.
a Terra 1. I would imagine that's where it goes. But I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Actually, took a little sneak peek at her board. She made a lot of changes, so we'll see that a bit later.
We'll see it later. We'll see it later.
Terra is no longer in the comp.
We'll talk about Xiao and then here with the Seraphine double Shojin on that, and the Graves with some pretty solid items. Just a lot of AD, a lot of attack speed. Try and push through this fight against Kevchen, who has the incredibly strong Xayah with that Infinity Force. We noticed that earlier. That itemization is crazy. But you did mention that Itis being a much lower win rate than the Shyvana, and we'll see if just this Xayah being so strong can carry it through and takes out Xiao like
Yeah, the Infinity Force is enough. Like, oftentimes Xayah is not able to solo carry, right? You need the Shyvana damage, you need that perfect CC chain that the really capped Xayah board gives you, but when you have an Ascension Xayah with an Infinity Force, that is the damage already made up right there. There's no lacking damage on that board, and that's very, very apparent watching Kevchen's fights. This game is very nearly a top forecast. The TheXienator at 6 HP. Rainplosion is still rapidly tanking HP, however. I think lost that last round as well, so it's on 17.
All right, and here's Rainplosion's board. Okay, so it is looking different.
It's on a Jace now, those items.
Yep, on a Jace, which understandable, make him tanky enough in the front line to keep jumping and healing. Now we have Aoshin as well in the back, and be pumping out the damage.
But is it enough damage?
It doesn't seem like it yet. No. It's absolutely not. No items on this Yasuo too, so he's not gonna get it done. Rain gonna take a lot more damage. 4 HP. If this isn't a top 4 for Rainplosion, that's so crazy.
That would be really unfortunate. To not top 4 after 100 HP streaking for that long just means that you missed the mark somewhere when it comes to converting your composition to the end game comp. I know the rolls were a bit low, but still, I mean, Shyvana 2, I'll be able to get it done. Blue buff Yasuo is solid, not just heavy damage items, but Yasuo does carry the blue buff quite well.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's enough to just get the top 4. You would feel like this comp is still strong enough, but not getting the upgrades onto the primary carry, which is the Aoshin, or just anything in that slot, right?
Yeah.
Does make it tough, but it's got to be blue buff Yasuo. You got to just try and carry this thing at this point because you don't have something powerful enough.
Another Aoshin, still a Jace 1, sold the extra Soraka, so cannot make Soraka 2 anymore. Blue buff does indeed go into the Yasuo. There's the Randuin's value only on 3 units. Scoped weapons benefiting 5 units in the back couple of rows, but again, not that much value. Rain might be going out in bot 4 here, but let's see it as they go up against TheXienator. That's the other person that could be eliminated right now.
Yeah, the Zephyr onto Shyvana is huge, being able to pick that up. And now it's just up to looking at that Xayah in the backline. There's a lot of shielding, protecting the initial burst damage. Yasuo is going to go down. That's one of the big carries. And now the cast from Aoshin is just not enough. And I don't think the Shyvana is getting it done either. Rain is just losing this handedly. And Rain's going to go out in 5th after that huge win streak to kick off that game.
I hate to see it.
What was the average for skill weapons?
4.99.
I think we found it.
I completely forgot that. That's actually not perfect for Rainplosion, but perfect for the stat.
The narrative of the game was picking the 4.99 augment at the start and going out in 5th.
Oh my god. You're so right, actually. I hate to see it though. Rain's still in a good spot overall on the day. I think she had a fantastic first couple of games though.
Yeah.
Going third and then first. So even though she's gotten a couple bottom fours, she's still great because her qualifier points as well. I think she's currently in first overall in qualifier points out of everybody in the NA TFT right now.
Yeah.
So even if she just makes it into tomorrow, she's probably chilling. So I'm not too worried for her overall.
She's been one of the best performing players on the entirety of set 7, right? Like this is,
yeah,
it's like outlier performance, honestly, to see a 100% streak like that, or 100 HP streak like that end in a 5th for Rain. It's a little uncharacteristic. So that was what was honestly the most interesting. Like we can just blame scoped weapons at this point because we're cursed by the win rate on that, or the average placement on that, as it just can't get it done at the end. As we see a Bard 2 for kevchen. The items on this Xia, I think, have been the big factor in carrying through with this itis in the front line as well.
Oh, definitely. This looks like the board that kevchen's going to end on. It's been enough to get top 3. Can it go much further up against Xnicamo, who has, oh, look at the Seraphine. This absolutely beautiful items.
Yeah, great items on the Seraphine. It doesn't get clipped by the Shroud. So really, it just comes down to that Bard, and now what can Xia accomplish against this? Because right now, the damage from this Graves is insane coming through because of the buffs from the Seraphine. The pullback doesn't come through, so Xia doesn't get the healing. Maybe there is a world she turns it around with that going off, but it just doesn't get there. Now, kevchen, no longer the HP leader.
Xnicamo now taking HP leader title. Ramblinnn 2 HP, but another solid finish already for Ramblinnn. Getting a top 3 here. Turns out the pressure being off, being already qualified for regional finals, is a boon in Ramblinn's favor.
Yeah, it is. It's working for him. It's working for him for sure. He's had some really solid performances so far today.
Ooh. Xnicamo 3 graves away with the Champion Duplicator, getting a Graves 3. Still kind of a bit of a ways out. But Ramblinnn doing it with the reroll Astrals, I think is very, very telling. Ramblinn's comfortable with a lot of different spots, being able to pilot this into getting an Aurelion Soul 2 with some pretty good items. Like, this is impressive.
Yeah. I mean, a reroll Astral isn't what I expected to see doing too much in this tournament. I just didn't think we'd see it that much, but this is another one of those comps, I think, when we talk about the meta, that is an option, right? We talk about the common comps you'll see, but when you have the right conditions, there are a lot of comps you can play. The meta is diverse in that sense, and Ramblinnn finding a good situation to play the reroll Astral, and probably just gonna end it with a 3rd, but still getting a 3rd, very solid. Winning that fight though, wow, look at that Aurelion Soul. That makes it possible for kevchen to go out before Ramblinnn. I thought that was gonna be it, but the Aurelion Soul, that huge cast at the end, having the Archangel staff stacked up, getting it done.
Kind of a roller coaster of emotions in my own head there, because I was like, oh, I think Ramblinn's gonna win. Then as you were saying, oh yeah, Ramblinn might go out, I was like, oh yeah, you might be right. But then no, the Aurelion Soul clutches it up. Because I was gonna say, this is the point where kevchen's board with the itis Xia is going to get outscaled, and we did see exactly that happen in that last fight. So Ramblinnn should be able to go top 2 here, unless Xnicamo's board is just too powerful. Let's see, because it is the Seraphine 3. What's going to happen here, Kaz?
I mean, he's got to fight Xnicamo now, right? But the big factor is going to be this Aurelion Soul, right? We see the big hit because it followed up on the Zyra, creating an opportunity, but it just doesn't seem like it's enough. There is healing coming out, but the healing reduction preventing a lot of it. And it's just the damage is too fast, right? We don't get to the point where Aurelion Soul hits the entire board. He can't get the healing from that because he's doing so much more damage with his Gunblade. It just doesn't work out, and Ramblinnn ends up going 3rd with that composition.
Oh, next Xnicamo is... Oh, it did just use the Champion Duplicator on a secondary Graves 2. And this is the last Whisper coming through, so we're going to slap that on the Graves as well. Double Zeke's value on both of them. Like, this is just textbook how you play a Seraphine Graves composition. Absolutely beautiful positioning, beautiful items. The only thing that could be better is having a Morello's on the Seraphine instead of like a Gunblade or one of the Archangels, just because it applies it so well. But you really, it's not even a need. It's not even a must. There's already healing reduction with the Sunfire on the Rakan. I think Kevchen did wonderful in getting to a top 2 and should be very, very satisfied with it. I wonder if there is any way Kevchen can do it, but I really just don't think so here. Maybe a beautiful Shroud, maybe some good fight RNG. I don't know.
Like what? Zephyr Seraphine, good Shroud on top of it.
Yeah.
Somehow your Xayah picks off 1 or 2 of the units before she comes back down. Maybe there's a world, but the front line's still very tanky from this. So we're gonna see here, Crone. I mean, this is likely the final fight, especially if Xnicamo is able to just win it.
Zephyr does land, and the Shroud, actually.
Well, this is what we talked about. This is the way you can win this, right? This is the only shot that it's gonna happen. And the Graves almost gets picked off. Will he go down? He does. That's one of the main carries. Second Graves down. Kevchen. This is actually very winnable. I mean, it should actually just be a win. Both Graves are down. The Seraphine can't carry on her own. She needs support. Did he win hard enough? Yeah, he did. Yeah, absolutely, he did.
Kevchen.
He gets the first. Oh, we called it. we said that's how you gotta win, and Kevchen comes through.
I love to